The homeless boss. It was late. The rain poured down in heavy sheets, soaking the streets of Chicago. Emily Carter, a struggling single mom, pulled her thin coat tighter around her shoulders as she hurried down the sidewalk. She had just finished another grueling double shift at the diner. Her feet ached, and exhaustion clung to her like a second skin. Then, she saw him, a man huddled beneath a flickering street lamp, his clothes torn, his beard thick and unkempt. He clutched a thin blanket around his frail body, shivering violently in the cold. Emily hesitated for only a moment before making a decision. She approached him, pulling a takeout container from her bag. "Here," she said softly, offering him the warm meal. "You need this more than I do." The man looked up, his piercing blue eyes filled with shock, and something else, something unreadable. He hesitated, then took the food, his hands trembling. "Thank you," he whispered. "No one's helped me in a long time." Emily gave him a gentle smile. Everyone deserves kindness. She didn't know it then, but this small act of compassion would change everything. The next morning, Emily rushed into the corporate office where she worked as an underpaid assistant. It wasn't her dream job, but it paid just enough to keep her and her 5-year-old son, Jake, in a tiny apartment. Her boss, Mr. Randall, was a nightmare. A cruel, arrogant man who thrived on belittling his employees. The moment Emily stepped inside, he was waiting. "You're late," he sneered, tossing a pile of files onto her desk. "Get these sorted, and bring me coffee. Black, no sugar. You mess it up again, you're fired." Emily swallowed the lump in her throat. "Yes, sir." She couldn't afford to lose this job. Not with rent overdue. Not with Jake needing new shoes. But as she turned to leave, a murmur spread through the office. Employees whispered to one another, eyes darting toward the elevator. Then the doors slid open, and Emily's world tilted. The twist. A familiar face. The homeless man from last night stepped out of the elevator, but he wasn't in tattered clothes anymore. He wore an expensive suit. His hair was neatly combed, his beard trimmed, and he was flanked by 2 high-ranking executives. Emily felt her breath catch as realization slammed into her. He wasn't homeless. He was their new CEO. The office was dead silent as Mr. Randall paled. The man's sharp gaze landed on him first, then flicked to Emily. A slow, knowing smile crossed his face. Then he spoke. "My name is Daniel Reeves," he announced, his deep voice commanding. "I'm the new owner of this company." Gasps filled the room. The weight of his words sunk in. Emily had helped a billionaire, and he had seen everything. Mr. Randall stumbled forward, forcing a smile. "Mr. Reeves, welcome. We had no idea you'd be arriving today." Daniel didn't respond immediately. Instead, he turned to Emily, his eyes warm but assessing. "We've met before, haven't we?" he asked. Emily nodded, her heart hammering. "Last night," she said quietly. "On the street." A few employees whispered among themselves. Daniel gave a slight nod. "Yes, and you showed kindness when no one else did." He shifted his gaze back to Mr. Randall, his expression turning icy. "Tell me, how do you treat your employees here?" Mr. Randall stammered, sweat beading at his temple. "Oh, we value our staff. We believe in fairness and—" Daniel cut him off. "That's interesting," he mused, his tone sharp, "because I've spent the past few weeks investigating this company. And from what I've seen, your leadership is anything but fair." Silence. Thick, heavy. Daniel turned to Emily. "Tell me," he said, "how has your experience been here?" Emily hesitated, glancing at Mr. Randall, who looked like he might collapse. But she had endured too much. She squared her shoulders and spoke the truth. "I've been underpaid, overworked, and treated like I don't matter." Daniel's expression darkened. "That ends today." In front of the entire office, Daniel pulled out a file from his briefcase. "Effective immediately, Mr. Randall, you're terminated." The blood drained from Randall's face. "Wait, please." Daniel didn't give him a chance. "Security, escort him out." 2 guards stepped forward, grabbing Randall by the arms as he spluttered in disbelief. The employees who had once cowered under his reign now watched with barely concealed satisfaction. As he was dragged away, Daniel turned back to Emily. "You deserve better," he said. "Starting today, you're promoted to executive assistant to the CEO, and with a salary that reflects your worth." Emily's eyes widened. "I thank you. I don't know what to say." Daniel smiled. "You already said it last night. Everyone deserves kindness." Tears pricked her eyes. She had spent so long struggling, fighting to survive. And now, for the first time in years, she felt seen, respected, and justice had been served. Ending scene. As Emily stepped into her new office, her son's picture sitting proudly on her desk, she exhaled deeply. Life had changed in an instant, all because of one act of kindness. She glanced toward the window, where Daniel stood overlooking the city. He turned slightly, meeting her gaze, and nodded, a silent promise. She had helped him when he had nothing, and now he had given her everything. Final words. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness lead to the biggest rewards. And sometimes the people you least expect are the ones who change your life forever. If you enjoyed this story, like and subscribe for more powerful real-life tales that prove one thing: justice always finds its way.